Hey, Michaela.
Hey.
So you've got 3 boys, right?
Yep.
And a husband.
Mm-hmm.
And your mum lives at home with you.
Yes.
So there's a fair bit going on in your house, right?
2 dogs, 3 cats.
What's your go-to strategy for achieving peace and you know, like getting a bit zenned out? How do you do that?
Well, I either keep them all out of the house and make them stay at my mother-in-law's, which has happened. Duncan and he took the
That's
kids.
one
I
way
said,
to do it.
I need a night.
Get out!
But I now have a lock on my bedroom door. So I go in there with my headphones and I binge watch TV or listen to music. And I become a happy, calm mother. Because I can't hear any of the disaster that's going on outside.
What's the most relaxing TV show for you? Or what helps you achieve that state the most?
Oh, like any political drama.
Wow, so you watch drama to achieve peace?
Yep.
That's a bit...
I have tried meditating and I find it really irritating. But I know it's good for you and I've got to do it. But
There's not enough going on.
I'm used to busy.
Welcome to the Tradies Business Show, helping you get off the tools and into true business ownership so you can spend more time doing the things that matter most. Now, here are your hosts, Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark.
So welcome to the Tradies Business Show. Don't bother meditating, it's too quiet.
Yeah.
There's not enough going on for you to relax.
Because they say, get up early, and there's so many times that I've, sat on my bed, or because I can't do it anywhere in the house because they find me. And so, I put a lock on the door and I had my headphones on. I could still hear them banging on the door at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh man, this is not working.
A madhouse.
It is, but I'll probably have to get up earlier again or something. I don't know.
4:30.
I think I'm going to get a sign on the door, even though that didn't work on the weekend. I very rarely mop when the kids are home, and I mopped the bathroom and I put a sign on it, got a pen and put "Do not open." Like if you want your life, don't open.
Yeah.
Husband didn't even see it. Walks in
Straight through.
Yeah.
Muddy boots.
It doesn't even work.
Dear, oh dear. So I got another question for you, Michaela.
Oh, gee, double banger today.
So a little while ago, we did a couple of episodes actually about you, because you mentioned your pets, about your dog. We haven't heard about the dog for a while.
Well, the dog is still alive.
Oh, so you still got the dog?
Yeah, the dog is now entrenched in our house because we had to spend $500 to get it desexed after... I didn't realise. I've never had a girl dog before. And I didn't realise that girl dogs get periods.
Right.
And so after it... spotted my house for about a week. It was like, that's it. We're either getting rid of it or we're getting it desexed, and it's never going anywhere. It's staying.
Good thing we don't do that with our human.
Yeah, I know. So it's been desexed now, and we're still getting training. It still doesn't like the lead. We had to carry it in and out of the vet because it kept hiding under the car. So we had to crawl under the car in the car park.
Oh dear.
But another interesting turn in the lives of the Clark pets is that my husband pulled out the big guns about 2 years ago and got me a kitten. And the rule, I had 3 cats. One passed away, which was my favourite. And he said, I will divorce you if you bring home any more cats. You're limited to 2, and then when one goes, that's it. Like, you're not replenishing them.
Yeah,
because
right.
I've always had a few cats, because, that mad cat lady. And so one year he basically ran out of time to get me a... Christmas present because he hates shopping. So he, on Gumtree, organised to get me a free kitten.
Oh, he went against his own rules.
He did. He pulled out the biggest guns possible.
Must really like
Well, it was
you.
free, see? And he didn't have to go to a shop.
Can't get better than free.
Yeah, so it was the most surprise I've ever got for a Christmas present, was this beautiful little grey and white kitten. And we called it Choppy, after Chopper.
Right.
We have it.
You guys have weird names for your pets.
And it was a strange cat. And it nearly died at 6 weeks because it got a snake in its mouth, but it survived somehow. We don't know. You used to get really attached to one of our other dogs, and that's all that we'd do was play with the dog. He ignored us. Anyway, Choppy disappeared.
Right.
And we thought, oh, well, because we live in a bit of a bush, so something's got it, or the kids have locked it in the cupboard and it's suffocated or something. So every time we'd move furniture, we were worried we were going to see a cat skeleton or something. And my husband would often joke, oh, look what I found Choppy, and I'd panic. So I was quite devastated because this was a kitten that, my husband had got me.
Oh, a special gift.
Yeah, and we were going through a tough time. So to me, it was like, the rebirth of stuff. Anyway, I looked in, it's kitten gone. So haven't had it for a year.
Right.
And so my stepdaughter, Duncan's going, no more, that's it, like.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was the last cat.
Yeah. Stepdaughter buys me a kitten last Christmas
Oh.
to replace the kitten that he bought that replaced the cat that we weren't allowed to have anymore.
Uh-huh.
There is a point to this story.
Yeah, yeah.
And so Jingles, because we got it at Christmas.
Right.
Yeah. And she's very affectionate, goes everywhere with me. She's like my baby.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there the other night, and there I see, resurrected from the dead, Choppy, who is now 2, chasing Jingles across the backyard. It's reappeared after a year of missing, chasing Jingles, who was on heat. So its brother is kind of trying to do its sister. And,
Okay.
yeah. So then we had to get that cat desexed as well, because I didn't think it would be ready for that yet. It's still my little kitten, I thought. But, oh no, it...
I don't know about you and pets, hey?
So 1 week was $500 for the dog. The next week was $400 for the kitten. So
Have you ever thought about getting, like, plants?
Because I kill
Pot
them,
plants?
at least I keep most animals alive.
Except they run away.
Yeah, so the cat that we got rid of and got one to replace it has come back and had romance with its, replacement after a year. And now overnight we hear this cat outside. It won't come back to us. Just gone now. It's had its fun and it's somewhere in the street.
Someone else. It's being fed by some other well-meaning neighbour.
Yeah, and then, but overnight you hear it crying for the little kitten. So, no, we fixed that problem.
Oh, dear. The
Anyway,
saga continues
yeah,
of the
so-
Clark pets.
Yeah, but anyway, wouldn't have it any other way.
Uh-huh. So, can we, draw any conclusions from any of that has any relevance to being a tradie in business?
Don't marry me because a lot of pet
Stay
bills.
away from Michaela and
all the money you
animals.
make as a tradie goes on vet bills.
Yeah, if you're a bloke, stay single.
Yeah.
Anyway, I suppose we could do a bit of a segue into what we're talking about today. What
How
are we
not
talking
to be
about
zen.
today?
I'm an example of how not to be zen in business or something.
Yeah, don't create suffering for yourself by
getting animals.
having lots of kids and animals.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
we always get rescue ones, so that's
Oh, well,
good.
that's doing your bit.
I am.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I'm going to try and segue into today's actual episode, which is we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do something a bit like your pets. Do things differently. We're going to run away and disappear for a while and then come back again. But for those listeners that don't know, I actually co-host another podcast. Shame on me. But I
Cheating on me.
co-host another podcast called Throw Buddha on the Barbie with a good mate of mine, Jay Frew. And we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about principles and ideas that usually people don't touch with a 40-foot pole.
And Jay has been on our show twice, remember?
He
Yes.
has. Jay and I recorded an episode recently for Throw Buddha on the Barbie where we talked about employer-employee relationships, but from a different perspective than you would think, a businessy podcast would examine them. And we looked at, I guess, why there's so much angst between employers and employees and also how to shift that. So we thought it would be a good idea here at the Tradies Business Show to save ourselves some effort, go to the pub early for lunch, and
This isn't us about being lazy today.
just reuse
This is a lesson
something
in
else.
repurposing content, which every small business should be doing.
Absolutely, but I felt like Jay and I covered some great points, and I thought, wow, this would be so good to share with our Tradies Business Show listeners that through the wonders of modern technology and editing software, we're going to share it with you in today's episode.
Now, a disclaimer is...
Michaela hasn't heard
I
this
haven't
yet.
heard it. So if this is a shit episode...
Oh, and I'm going to have to make sure we beep out some of the naughty words.
Oh,
in it,
okay, because yours is an explicit
because
rating.
that other one has an explicit rating. So
yeah, if it's not good, blame Warwick.
Yeah,
but if it's
yeah.
great, blame me for teaching him how to repurpose.
Yeah, but if you've got employees, there's some really good principles in here that should help you. And if you're an employee yourself, if you're a tradie, thinking of starting a business, this will help you, if you go out there and employ your own tradies for your business. But have a listen and tell us what you think. Well, it's great to be in the studio with you again, Jay. I just love your jokes, mate.
Not mine.
Oh, I love the way you absolve yourself of responsibility for those.
They're Dr. Google's.
Dr. Google. Welcome to Throw Butter on the Barbie, listeners. Great to have you back at the barbecue. We've got a sizzle fest today, don't we, Jay?
You reckon my jokes are bad?
Yeah, my grasp of the English language is probably worse, mate. But we're going to get a little bit. Well, it has the potential to be perceived as perhaps a little boring or
no, this isn't
mainstream.
You think so?
Jay's definitely going to disagree with me like he usually does, so we're not going to lose that flavour of the barbecue today. But it could be considered a business topic, but we're not going to look at it from a business perspective. But it is something that definitely causes a lot of people a lot of suffering in the world, because most of us have at one time or another, or are currently in one of these kind of relationships or these dynamics of employer or employee, or both. Can you be both at the same time? You can't, can you?
Well, I think
Not really.
I know a few employers that work the hours of an employee and a bit more.
Get paid less though.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
which is probably a cause of their suffering.
Yep.
But it bears deconstructing, demarinating. We're going to pull a salad apart. I don't know. I can never think of anything really barbecue-esque to, which is quite apart from burlesque.
Yeah.
But
I usually stay away from the salad.
Yeah. No good story started with salad.
Yeah.
But employer-employee relationships, and what we're going to do is actually adhere to our original ideas for the show, which was some months ago now, of using the Buddhist principles, in particular the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, to just overlay that over the whole employer-employee angst that exists out there in the marketplace. Well, I painted a good picture around the Barbie today, Jay.
No.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, we'll go on.
Well, you take the brush and marinade differently.
We were just going to use, like we did in the first episode, is that you have the Four Noble Truths about existence for us, and we were going to use those to just discuss, philosophize, bullshit about the employee-employer relation, what people think about that, and how that can stymie both sides or work well for both sides, and then have a look at the Eightfold Path, like, what is good thinking while you're working and your good attitude, all that sort of stuff.
Because it really is something that I have seen just an incredible amount of energy poured into by employers who I tend to have worked with in my recent years as a mentor and a coach and advisor, whatever the hell you want to call it. But it causes so much frustration and I don't know. Well, suffering, I think, is the right word, Jay.
Yeah, but there's suffering for both parties, isn't there?
Absolutely. And in recent years, I've put more time into, when I work with my clients, of actually working with their team members or their staff or employees, whatever you want to call them. But it's kind of hard not to almost take their side.
Yep.
When I talk to them about it and collude with them and think, oh wow, this guy really is an arsehole to work for.
Yeah.
No wonder you're so miserable at work and you're not productive and you're not implementing the systems that have been put in place in the business and all that stuff that tends to be symptomatic of just that real grating relationship between the boss and the worker.
Yeah.
It's as old as I don't know, when did this shit start, mate? It was before the industrial age, wasn't it?
No, I would have thought it started around the industrial age,
when people started getting paid.
But there's
to
always
work.
been the wealthy and the dominant, and
because there's the whole aspect of control, isn't there, and conformity. Like, employers control their employees in the perception is that that's how it plays out, that relationship, and the employees that I speak to.
Yeah, but I've seen many situations where employees are controlling the employer.
Oh, yeah, through, what's the word I'm looking for? Not espionage.
Espionage.
Ransom.
We've
That's
just
the word I was
gone
looking for.
007 barbecue here within
Ding, ding,
5
ding,
seconds.
ding, 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 ding. But Yeah, a lot of employees end up holding their employers to ransom almost, because the employer gets in this position where they can't do without them.
Yeah.
They feel like perhaps they can't find another one to replace them.
Right.
And so there's this real power play and this to and fro chess game that goes on between these two parties, and it's bloody ridiculous.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But it's all about belief systems again.
Okay.
Once again.
So explain that, Jay. What's belief systems got to do with it?
Let's say you got two parties then. So let's, easily go to an employee. You look in Australia, laws in Australia around working were all came about because of the union years, which we still are affected by these days. They're not a bad thing. I do not have a judgment on this. So I don't want any wharfies coming in my house. But I'm saying, that the fair distribution of pay for hours worked and, right workers, there was
a lot of exploitation of workers.
Yeah, but exploitation, there were lots of workers that were, got injured.
Yeah, shit work conditions, safety, all that sort of stuff.
So there is a mindset, and, I'm really generalising here, so once again, please don't kick me in the nuts over this.
All generalisations are bad.
Let's say if you'll come from a very labour area, everyone works for a factory or an industry or everything like that, there are belief systems about who they're working for, the time they're getting, the safety, this, that and the other. But that would come from parents as well that have, maybe been in trades, maybe have worked for the big industrial plants of yesteryear, because we don't really work for those anymore. I mean, there's a whole new belief system coming out of the mining industry now, where young people can go and earn bucket loads of money that they never would have been able to earn in any other time in history. But that's all teetering out now, but there's belief systems with that. So what we're looking at is how someone has grown up in a work environment. So, I mean, I grew up in an environment where my father owned his own business. Now, it wasn't a massive business, but it was a unique niche business in advertising for agricultural stuff. He knew the area as an agronomist, but he had his own business, and he worked really long hours and really hard and did all that sort of thing. But I think most of the time he employed good people. Do you know what I mean? And he valued those people, and they were paid appropriately and so forth like that. So I didn't have but I've, in my life history, have been, and I'm going to say luckily, been able to experience the full breadth of employer-employee relations and been in it myself and been out of it myself, but get to see, I've worked out the back of Blacktown where, you basically hate your employer. You don't want to be there, but you go there because you need to earn money. But there's all these belief systems about the employer that's driving the BMW and this and that and the other. And I've gone, worked with builders that have labourers that some of them are just absolutely fantastic and some of them are absolute assholes. But the same can apply to business owners, really. But it comes back to, so business owners is their belief systems about employees, which they may get from growing up, or it might be a new thing for them, And there's
a lot of fear with employers, particularly small business owners, because they've got so much at stake. They don't often make a lot of money. They work ridiculous hours, and then they're paying legislated minimum wages and then some to employees who seem to have a better life than they do.
And, when that comes down to choice as well, but they want to be the business owner. They want to be in charge.
That's right.
They want to have control.
They want to drive the BMW.
Yeah, well, that's fine. As long as the business pays for the BMW, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So, but we were looking at the Four Noble Truths and sort of overlaying this over a business. So let's say a small to medium business, just as an example. So Warwick and I have had conversations over this over the last few months. So you've got the first noble truth, which is suffering exists. It's there. But how we might look at this from a business point of view is, why, and this is from an employer here, not from an employee at the moment. So from an employer perspective, why are you in business? Really, that's the question you have to answer. Why the hell are you doing it? And be brutally honest. If it's just about money, write down, well, it's just about money and I think I can make good money. If you're some green tea drinking hippie sitting there going, well, I want to save the planet, then be brutally honest and say that's really why I want to do it after I earn some money.
To pay for my green tea.
Yeah, basically. And my laptop and everything else that's just...
I love the way that you just trample all over multiple stereotypes there, mate, in one sentence. That's awesome. Well done.
I do my best.
You just burnt that piece of meat.
So back to the employer. So that first rule, why the hell are you in business in the first place?
Mm.
Is it to make money? Is it for social stature? I know, the yuppies that came out of the 80s that did fantastic things, but it was generally so they could have toys. They could live a certain lifestyle. It was all big ego in those days, and it was an amazing thing to watch.
The 80s and early 90s was very much like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was this massive significance culture.
Yes.
Gee, I just came up with a wank word.
You did.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This isn't a wank word free zone, this show, is it, Jay?
No.
Because I reckon I've used a few. But, there was this big thing about... the reason for doing that stuff was about notoriety and recognition. I suppose it's human nature, though, isn't it, mate?
Yeah,
like
but you had the
significance
recognition of walking around with a phone that you actually had to hang off your waist.
A bag phone.
Yeah.
I had
and you looked so cool.
I had a car phone. I thought it was cool. It was so stupid. Those were the days where you could talk on the phone while you were driving.
But you could say that the 80s yuppies have caused the the
Bastards.
petroleum addiction that we have today.
Yeah, it was all
fossil
their
fuel
fault.
addiction.
It was all their fault.
Yeah, let's blame the yuppies.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bloody
Because we
yuppies.
blame people on this show. We
Yeah,
know
that's right.
It gets us all the way.
Okay, so let's take our tongues out of our cheeks, Jay, and then leave that alone. But Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, what the hell's this got to do with...
Well, that's what I was saying. So, number one is to realise is that you need to work, but why are you working? So, number two is, really get down to nut down. And this is, again, everyone out there, we're just starting with the employers, not the employees. This is not a...
So we're picking on the employers
no one's
first.
better than the other.
Typical.
It's just so that first and second thing, is declare the cause of your suffering is your craving for money or your craving for attachment to things. I want to have a Ferrari, and if I do these things, I'll get there. The positive movement stuff out of the last 30 years that comes out of America. Yeah, I want the house, I want the car, I want this and I want that. That's fine, perfectly fine. Just be brutally honest why you're doing that. Now, let's have a look at those first two from an employee's perspective.
So the first one is the first noble truth as it applies to this situation, Jay, just so people who are taking notes can jot these down. Because I know we have some listeners who actually
write things down.
They listen to our podcast to start with.
Well, it'd be
so the first one?
The Four Noble Truths would be 1 and 2, which is the truth of why you're in business.
Okay, so that's point 1.
Yeah, and declaring that truth.
So what is the truth of why
I am
you're
in business? What the truth is that suffering exists. So that's the first one. If you're doing it from a, all I experience is suffering. So in work, what exists for you in work?
Yep.
Why are you existing in that job in the first place? If you found yourself there by accident, are you, someone like Warwick here who's... definitely an accident of the universe. No, but he's found, he's gone and done accountancy. You've got a degree in financial planning and all that sort of stuff, don't you? Yeah. So, you found yourself, you came out of that, and usually someone would assume that you're going to end up just being an accountant and that's it. But you're now
riveting.
the Kojak
because I shaved my head
Because
on the
he's
weekend.
shaved his head.
And my
ladies,
beard.
And his beard. He looks like a little baby.
Check out Instagram. go to the Throw Buddha Instagram
Yeah.
feed.
He's gone the total Buddha.
If you haven't liked us there, for goodness sakes, what are you doing? Go follow us on Instagram. You don't like people on Instagram.
Okay.
And check out my
have you
beautiful
got
head.
your plug in yet?
Yeah, okay.
So, but you ended up as a business coach. Or used to be a business coach.
A former
I should
business
say.
coach. Insert legal disclaimer here.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
yes, I was a business coach.
But the assumed role of you doing an accountancy degree is that you come out and be an accountant, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did that for 18 months, and I hated every minute of it.
So if we're looking at an employer here, is what's the truth of why they're there? And they could be there totally by accident.
Yeah, just... Well, I don't want to spiral off into too much of a tangent here, mate, but I was about to say, just circumstance. Product of circumstance. But there's no such thing. And that's why I stopped
I'm
myself.
sitting here going, what's he talking
Because
about?
it's a choice that was made.
Yeah, well, it's choices that are
It's just that it's not necessarily those choices are made consciously or from a place of
Well,
awareness.
it can be. Some people are very conscious about why they get into business, though, aren't they?
Oh, sure, into
Yeah.
business, but into a business of what? Why did I go into a financial planning business?
Yeah.
Well, because I had a business degree and I had experience in that stuff, and so I felt like that was a natural choice.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it's like, what the hell was I doing? I would much rather.
I think
have
you'll
done
find
something else.
most people generally do that.
Or
What
look
the
back
hell?
on their life and go, what the
Yeah, but then you can see that the belief systems and the suffering that actually belonging to the human race, let's be even more qualified here, is belonging to or being in part of Australia at this time, earning money. You are following a load of belief systems.
Ooh.
Right? And I can guarantee you that 50 years ago there were employers and employees that could sit around and have a look at what's happening now, like all the small businesses that exist, and they exist in technology alone. 50 years ago, people would have been sitting there going, there's no way that could happen.
Yeah, well, it just wasn't physically possible for a lot of those businesses to
it wasn't
exist.
psychologically possible because there were limitations.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Right, so it's those belief systems and everything like that cause our limitations. This is getting back to this one or two. So, the employer sitting there and saying, well, how the f did I end up doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing what am I doing? Am I doing it just for money? Am I doing it for money so I can experience financial freedom? Am I doing it for money so I can buy material things because I think they make me feel better? Am I doing it for money to have more than the next person because that makes me feel better? I mean, they're all valid reasons why you're doing it. It's just being blatantly honest why you're doing it. So then we get to an employee. Why are you in the job you're in now? Some people are going to be very lucky and just go, yep, I'm in a job I love with an employer I love and we both have a great relationship and I'm in it because I enjoy, there's certain people that I know that work healing koalas, right? And it's the work they want to do and they work for an employer and it's like they're meeting their passion. So there's a whole lot of belief systems that fall out of the way in the employer-employer relationship because they're more focused on healing the bloody koalas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So if you're an employee right now, what's the blatant truth about why you're in the job you're in? And you can be perfectly happy in your job sweeping the streets or emptying garbage bins.
Yeah, I don't know, this is probably another tangent, mate, but the whole thing about being happy in your work being in inverted commas, whether that's scrubbing dunnies or, removing brain tumours, we can still find joy in our work no matter what it is.
Yes.
But whatever the reason is, and I'm sure you have a better answer than I will for this, mate, is people who are scrubbing dunnies and, filling potholes in the roads and emptying garbage bins, there's a perception that those jobs are shit and that they would get more fulfillment if they were healing koalas or removing brain tumours.
Yeah, but that comes down to individual.
But the reality
passions,
is that it's got nothing to do with that. I used to have this discussion with my ex-wife about accounting.
Right.
She did it her whole life. Left school, went to university, accounting degree, into accounting, did it for 20 years after school, and got to the stage where absolutely hated it and just refuses to do it because she cannot connect that work with her spiritual work, if you like. You know, she just cannot get any joy or fulfillment or anything from it. And yet there's aspects of the work that I do that shit me to tears. But overall, I feel that it is actually my work of guiding people, coaching people, you know, bringing awareness to them. Even though it's through the business plane,
right? It's
still, there's fulfillment in there.
Yeah.
And I guess I see that a lot of people just miss the opportunity for that. They're chasing a better job or a better life or a better business to...
Well, that's another thing then, is it all the chasing because they think there's something better on the other side.
Yeah, so I've taken us from one barbecue to the one three blocks down.
Yeah.
You don't even know where I went with that.
I reckon there's a couple of listeners there that burst out laughing when I even had the thing, like, where the f*** is he going?
You're welcome. And we're back. So welcome to Throw Buddha on the Barbie. Anyway, so the second one. Jay, second naval truth.
No. We did 1 and 2. One and 2 is in that truth and that declaring.
Yeah, one is declaring why am I doing this. The second is
one is realizing that what you're doing, and number 2 is declaring it.
Right,
isn't it? Really, I think they come together. It's like, why am I here, doing what I'm doing?
Okay.
So now going back to the Four Noble Truths. What it says here is, we know the cessation of suffering is possible, and this is called nirvana. There is a path that leads to the ending. This is the essential truth, that there is peace of mind. So there, in your workplace, whether you're an employer or an employee, there is a path to a peace of mind within what you're doing and how you're thinking. Because if you're an employer, if you sit down and had a good look at your belief systems that you've got over... You can help me out here, Warwick.
Ooh, that's a bit formal. I'm worried. Come on, smartass.
What would some of your employers say, you know, as you can see it as an ingrained belief system about their employees?
What would they say about their employees?
Yeah, I always employ the wrong person. Or
you can't get good staff.
Can't get good staff.
They don't do what they're told. They don't know how good they've got it.
Right. Okay, so this is good. This is all... So this is an employer sitting down saying and looking at what they're saying and finding within those things, those belief systems, having a look at them, and then there's a path to a peace of mind by having a look at those things that they're saying. Because they're only mental constructs. They're belief systems that they constantly have... conditionally, I've lost the word here.
Believed?
No, they see it all the time in front of their face, so it reinforces that conditioning in their mind that I can't get good people.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So every time they then go and interview someone, they're already presupposing they're not going to get a good person, so they end up not getting a good person. Then
which reinforces
they're at their
the
barbecue with their other mates on the weekend saying, "Oh my God, it's hard to get good staff."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they're actually the cause of it.
Yeah. Which, in some respects, goes back to the episode we did a little while ago about internal versus external. Everything we experience is from the internal.
Yeah.
And those employers have created that situation because that's their focus.
So I suppose this is a little bit of the quirky thing about this podcast is we're talking to two different groups of people.
On the same episode.
So
you have to tune in and out as you get the shits with what we're saying. Just tune in, and when you agree, tune out.
Yeah. So let's go back to that again. So from the employee standpoint, for number 3 is that constant conditioning of I can't get good staff will always create the situation where you will always not get good staff because you're not fiddling around with your belief systems. An employee will always, if you've got, let's someone that's experienced growing up at a house where their father works 5 days a week for a company that pays them this much, and all he hears is moans and groans all day, he or she, I should say here, all day, every week about employers and this and that and the other. Now, he'll go into a job and he'll be carrying some of that stuff with him, and it's like, first job. Let's say he gets a job with a, similar industry to his father's and everything like that.
A biscuit factory.
A biscuit factory. I don't know how you're coming this, though. He's making iced Vovos, right?
Do they even sell those anymore?
I don't know. I think someone tried to get rid of them and there was an uproar.
Oh, okay.
He's making iced Vovos in the factory that his father made iced Vovos, but his father's gone. He's been promoted up to Nice biscuits or something like that.
He gets to make the Tim Tams now.
Tim Tams, right? He's on the high level stuff.
I hope no one's listening that actually works in the biscuit factory
right.
making Tim Tams.
But there are belief systems. He'll go into that workplace and actually work with people that'll all hold the same belief systems that, they never pay us enough and they never do this and they never
bastards.
do that. Bastards. So therefore they're creating a mental workforce as an employee that they'll experience that stuff.
Can I jump in, Jay?
Yeah, jump away. If you're leading us off on another tangent, you can...
Shut up.
you can just go and get...
Just go and leave your own half your podcast.
Right.
And anyway. No, I was going to share a bit of an anecdote from a client, obviously, and I do that a lot because I work with people. But employer, employee, and this business has a very strong... And I think consultants and advisors and HR people talk about it as culture.
Yep.
And I think that word perhaps is not misunderstood, but maybe it's used a bit too broadly. But there's a whole lot in that thing. When we say there's a crap corporate culture, that what I see with that is that there is this persistent thing, as you say, amongst the workers, that the boss is an arsehole, they don't pay us enough, they demand too many hours, the conditions aren't great, and people coming into that, and I've watched this happen over a long period of time working with this particular client, new employees come into that smiling and positive, and they're excited about their new job, and within about 2 or 3 weeks, everybody else has beaten that out of them, and they're walking around with the same miserable outlook on the place, and the employer is just at a loss as to how the freaking hell do we get good people. And it's like, you keep getting good people, but the rest of your people keep turning them into the lowest common denominator, which is everyone's got the shits with you because you're not leading them. You're micromanaging and you're getting the shits about stuff. And he pays really well, but nobody gives a shit about that because they just don't like being at work.
Yeah.
And so that culture
not being
has
inspired or anything like that.
Yeah, it's got its own
so that's a really
energy.
good. That's finally he's come up with a really good anecdote.
Hallelujah, brother!
But that shows you the belief systems of everyone in that area. It's like the new employee that doesn't have any presupposed belief systems about being there at that job. You've got the employer and the current employees, and everyone is following a certain blueprint to get everyone in place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Because everyone's actually comfortable there. And everyone's suffering. I don't really like my job, and I hate why can't I get good people? But
nobody leaves.
Yeah, but you're a pack of idiots if you don't all step back and go, all right, what am I doing? Why am I experiencing this? Even if you're an employee and you've got a shit job, it's because of you that you've got a shit job in the first place.
Jay, wash your mouth out.
Sorry.
You're saying that... Are you trying to tell me that if I'm an employee and I hate where I work and it's a shit place to work, that's my fault?
Yes. Well, not fault. It's your responsibility. It's your choice. So stop being a knob.
Jeez, mate. I don't know if I can stomach that one.
Right, now, let's get to the fourth one. Before
we have a riot. We are in something of a blue-collar area here, mate.
Oh,
so
are we? Oh, we're
just
in
be careful
Caboolture,
as you
aren't we?
leave, mate. You might get your tyres slashed.
The Labor Party, you've been wrong for many years.
Oh, I was
No, I'm
pretty
only
sure we weren't going to talk politics and religion on this show.
I was only joking.
All right, see you later.
Sorry.
Anyway, Jay,
I'm in Caboolture. I'm going to get an Ugg boot thrown at me.
welcome to Throw Butter on the Barbie with Jay. Because I don't want any part of this one. All right, mate. What's number 4? Let's try and get
Young,
this
good-looking
barbecue
man
back
gets
on
killed during podcast.
Oh, we're talking about me again.
No,
Oh,
just because you shave everything doesn't make you young.
let's get back on track.
Anyway, so the final fourth truth is that if we follow a set of guidelines, which is in the Noble Eightfold Path, we can start to ease that suffering.
That sounds attractive.
Doesn't it? Much
Almost
like
as
me.
attractive.
I got in there before you.
I was too slow. I was Instagramming while we were recording. See, I'll get more likes on Instagram than you will on this episode, mate. Anyway, there's
all
no
right.
competition.
So, everyone out there, I know you can't answer me, but is everyone aware of where they're sitting, whether they're an employee or an employer? Yay, I can hear.
You can hear all the pennies
You can
dropping.
hear all the pennies dropping. Okay, so the Noble Eightfold Path. So you could use this for your business, or if you're an employee, you could follow this for yourself to improve your work experience, and or choose to go somewhere else, depending on what you're doing.
Lots of people can be quitting their jobs or shutting their businesses.
Yeah,
Or
right.
maybe sacking their employees. I don't know.
Okay, so number 1 in the Eightfold Path is right view or understanding. Are you with us?
I'm
Warwick?
not saying anything because whenever I interject, you roll your eyes at me and I have to roll them back at you.
Right. So this first right view or understanding of, we're sort of blueprinting this for work, but if you have a deep understanding of what you're doing in place at that time, you're going to have a greater understanding of what's going on around you. That's what I believe. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some people can't shift their mind to that degree. But if you're an employee working for an employer that has a small to medium business with 15 people in it, and you can say to yourself, all right, why is my employer, and you don't have to go to the employer and say this, if you could spend just a minute saying, why is my employer doing this business? Why are they in it? Is it a family business? Has it existed for years? Have a deep understanding about why the business is existing and why you're there. If it's just a job that you needed work, just say, that's my deep understanding, is I'm in this job because I needed to feed myself, I needed to get accommodation, I wanted to buy a new motorbike, preferably a Triumph from Warwick's point of view.
Thank you.
But just stand, whether you're an employer or an employee, and stand there and have that right understanding of why you are there. As you're walking in that door, if you could do that every day, why am I here? And if you just were very clear to yourself that you're there to earn money, to do whatever you want to do, you'll actually feel a bit better.
Because does that, in essence, release me from all of that other, well, not all of it, but the other suffering that...
Well, the suffering is
create for
created by
myself.
judgment, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, let's have a look at, you were talking about those lower-end jobs like garbage trucks, this, that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I saw a journal article in a paper a few weeks ago, and it was about a little boy that had got... He loved the garbage trucks coming along every day and picking up the garbage, when it was garbage day. And he said to his mum and dad, I want to grow up and be a garbage man. And they bought him a garbage truck, and they actually took him out to the garbage guys and took a photo with him and his new garbage truck, because that's what he wanted to be when he was older. So the funny thing is, that child has absolutely no belief systems that tell him that that's like conceived as a lower end job that only shitheads do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's going to get to a point where someone's going to say that to him, and he's going to go, oh.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? It's the best thing in the world. So his belief system, if he carried that every day for the rest of his life, he would be the happiest garbage contractor in the world. Because no one has said to him, it's a shit job.
Yeah, because there really is this. Well, it's been created by the masses, I suppose, but it's just people that have created it. There's this hierarchy of work and what's considered more valuable versus less valuable in some ways, or more desirable versus less desirable.
Yep.
You know, I used the examples before about brain surgeons and all that sort of stuff. Are no more or less worthy or valuable than a garbologist or a dunny scrubber or a pothole filler.
Right.
Because none of us can live without any of them.
So the right view or understanding for all of this, whether you're an employer or an employee, whether you're a brain surgeon or a garbage truck contractor, is that it doesn't matter as long as you have an understanding of what you're doing. Not sitting there going, oh, that brain surgeon, he's a wanker because he's driving a BMW and people are paying him this, that and the other to save lives. You know, however that system works.
Because that's just as bad, just as fraught with danger as the.
Well, it is for the
person.
Yeah, it's for the person making the judgment. So, and that's what we're talking about here. So, we're trying to ease the suffering of an employee. Is from the get-go have a right understanding of why you're walking in the doors of the office in the first place.
Yeah.
You know,
and because that's your choice.
Yeah. And, you know, you get I notice on Facebook all the time, all these things about, you know, not being one of the drones and going on, you know, there's all these office workers doing this, that and the other. Things would change if most of those people walked in the office and said, well, I'm here to get money. That's all I'm doing. It gives me structure, the honest truth, you know?
And actually own it.
Yeah, and own it. Instead of walking in there going, oh, I don't want to do this job and I want to go this and that and the other. And then they see on Facebook someone going, you're a drone, you don't know what you're doing, you're a sheep, you don't know how to think, everyone's thinking for you and everything like that. The change only comes internally because people like that are saying, well, you're an idiot. You can't think for yourself. And that makes you feel worse because then you start judging yourself over what some twat from America living in California is saying, oh, you do. What I'm getting to is there is total responsibility from whoever walks in the door, be they employer and employee.
It's not somebody else's problem or fault, someone else's problem, but I'm there because of me.
Yeah.
My choice.
But if you're an employee and you have belief systems about your employer and it makes you upset and it separates you from that employer because of those belief systems, I don't like how he runs the company. I don't like how he looks at me when I'm coming in and I'm, you know, all bedraggled and down and this and that and the other. And the employer is standing there going, oh, man, when I interviewed that guy, he was really good and now he's a dick and I can't employ good people. So you're both bouncing off these things off each other because you're both not in a total state of truth about why you're there in the first place. And if everyone was very honest about why they're there, you'd probably get rid of half the suffering in the first place.
Jesus, and then we'd all be happy.
What's happiness? I
don't know, I haven't found it yet.
So, right view or understanding, that's number one.
Jesus,
number one.
We've still got 7 more to go.
Yeah, I know.
And I wanted to jump in with this big epiphanistic.
Epiphanistic? He's made up another word. That's 2 in one show.
It's the Wazza dictionary.
We are the world leader in grammar.
It's an urban dictionary. But if if employers and employees actually sat down and did this, I'm going to change my consulting style, mate. But imagine if employers and employees sat down and said, righto, I think you're a twat and you used to be good. What the hell happened? Well, I hate the way you treat me and blah, blah, blah. And actually, it would be really hard to do it without just pointing the finger and blaming the other person. But if everybody put their shit on the table in that sense and said, well, I'm here because I need money for my family, blah, 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 and the employer said, well, I'm here for the same reason. So really...
It's just I own all the assets.
It's just I've got the BMW and the fancy house.
But if they're totally honest about they're the things that I like...
And actually put their shit on the table.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of... Not everybody, perhaps, but, man, there'd be a high percentage of workplaces where bosses and workers have been on the same freaking page.
No.
Honestly. And I get in the middle of all this stuff trying to
Manoeuvre.
Yeah, and translate and interpret and all that sort of stuff. And honestly, I should just stick them in a bloody MMA cage and let them go at it for 6 rounds.
Yeah. Okay, so let's paraphrase. Number 1, if you don't honestly know the truth of why you're where you are,
you're a wanker?
You're a wanker.
That's what Jay usually says. If you don't like it, you're a wanker.
You've got all these tools around you on consciousness and what's changing and spirituality and meditation, everything like that, but you still sit in belief systems created by wankers from 50 to 100 years ago about work. So...
Yeah. Because we don't work in that environment anymore.
No.
Oh.
Okay, so, number 1, right view or understanding. I hope everyone's got that.
Okay.
Right. 2, right thought or intention. There's that I word again.
I, intention.
Yeah, intention. I'm just waiting for you to pop out another new word.
I'm just shutting up, Jay.
Now, according to the Noble Eightfold Path, the path of right thought or intention has 3 aspects, right? Now, number 1 is renunciation. If you don't know what that means, go and get a Bible. Or see Indians. It's giving away all that you believe is an attachment, basically. 2, goodwill, and 3, harmlessness. All right? So...
This is a bit like the do no harm but take no shit thing that I see getting around.
The renunciation, let's look at that as attachment. All right, so what are you attached to in the workplace? What really, what could you not do without in the workplace? Is it, your iced Vovos that come around at morning tea time on the trolley? Yep. This is the hard part about using this Eightfold Path, is this renunciation. But I would say it's giving up all your belief systems.
But people can be attached to the actual suffering as well, Jay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Giving up giving up those belief systems. The labels, everything like that. If they could walk in that door with an open view of what happens, or a right intention of what happens in that workplace, everyone's going to benefit. No one's going to be miserable.
That's right.
Right? Goodwill.
To all men. And women.
And women.
And children.
Yes. And all minorities.
And dogs.
And dogs. So, goodwill is also the right intention of why you're going in there. It's, goodwill for your employer. If your employer, you did your best for your employer and the company, not so much the, and this can be company as well. We can use the word company. If you made money for your company and your company was smart enough to go, wow, Warwick's come in today and he's doing really, really well. And he's done this and made these changes and everything like that, and we're saving this, then they would express that back by bonuses, this, that, or the other.
You would hope.
You would hope. Well, people try and do that all the time, but, all the research on regular bonuses and that stuff doesn't really work anyway from a motivational point of view. But, the goodwill...
But there'll be recognition. By and large, companies recognise the efforts of their employees if they do well.
Right. But let's look at it from let's say from my point of view. If you walk in wishing the best for your employer and the employer walks in wishing the best for you, what do you think's going to happen?
Well, I know it's not going to be bad.
Exactly. So you both got goodwill towards each other. You're not sitting there saying... So number 1, your renunciation is that I drop the belief system that I only employ bad people.
Yep.
Then you always are supporting your employees psychologically, mentally, whatever. You've just got good thoughts for them.
Everyone's adding to the equation rather than subtracting.
Instead of breaking down those old stereotypes of the belief systems of who you are.
Yep.
So the third one let me read here, is harmlessness, right? Now, harmlessness is lack of violence. The Buddhists are usually good at this, unless you're like those extreme Buddhists that I hear about.
The extreme Buddhists?
Yeah. Apparently there's some extreme Buddhists somewhere.
Right. I'm sure there's extreme everything.
Yeah, they probably kill ants.
Yeah, deliberately. Oh, dear.
So anyway, if we're looking at it from, this right thought or intention, this concerns those thoughts and plans arising from a right world view. Right?
Right.
So if you could go into the workplace with a right world view from both sides of the equation.
When you say right world view, Jay, just unpack that a little bit, please.
I don't know. Depends if I'm talking to ISIS members or not.
You're on fire today, mate.
Yeah, sorry.
So far, anyway, right world view.
Well, so look at it from a business, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the context that we're talking.
Yeah, if you've got a right world view, okay, let's start with a wrong world view. Let's go in there and we're being a miserable bastard to our employer and we're affecting the business because of that. The employer struggles the whole time and then at the end, the business folds.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone is in there with the wrong world view of why the business is there and what's, everyone's looking at everyone else going, it's your fault while we're in this position.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Business folds. No one benefits.
That's right.
Right world view is everyone's going in there saying, right, I have, employer goes in saying I have a duty and responsibility to my employees to pay them well and to make sure they do their job because I want my business to grow. The employee has I would say, I don't like using the word duty, but a duty and responsibility to go in there and say, hey, this dude's paying me so much an hour that I've agreed to as I walk in the door to do these things.
Yep.
But, if everyone's walking in the door with, we really want the company to grow, you would get a better outcome.
Because everyone's working towards the same
because everyone's working to
outcome.
Yeah. But, there's nowhere... there's probably a couple of places that exist, maybe Google, where you have sleep beds and cafeterias and all that sort of thing. There are places that possibly exist like this all the time. But, we're talking small to medium business here at the moment. So, to improve the small to medium business, if you can get your employers and the employer, anyone that walks through those gates, doors, whatever it is, to have the right goodwill for the company, you got a winner.
Sounds pretty simple.
It does. Right. Third one is right speech.
Okay. That's not going to happen on this show.
Now, I'm going to read this out. So this is about being aware of judgments and learning to assess ourselves honestly. So I'd say we've already answered those in, the first and second noble truths, the right view or understanding is, just assessing all the time, if I've got a grievance, why have I got the grievance and how did it come from me?
Yep.
Why am I experiencing this thing right now?
Yep. It's a little bit related to the last chat we had with Jane Jordan about the questions we ask.
Yes.
So that self-talk, self-language.
Yeah, but what are you voicing, You could be going home and moaning to your wife, oh, God, I'm so tired of Barry. He comes home every day complaining about his bloody job.
Yep.
So not only does that right and or wrong speech affect people at work, it affects people at home as well.
Yep. Which reflects back to us as well.
Yeah. So this is, and from a Buddhist perspective, this is where we begin to develop compassion, is learning to assess ourselves honestly. This is basically what this whole thing is about this morning, is employers and employees assessing themselves honestly.
Yep.
For the goodwill of the company or the goodwill of the employee.
Mm-hmm.
So that he's earning a good wage and he's happy and he's content.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limitations. Okay, the fourth one is right action.
Well, you mean doing the right things?
Yes.
You mean I've got to do something?
Yes.
Yep.
So it's about behaving in a way that will not hurt anyone. So take this to the workplace. You know, what if you assessed yourself honestly, what do you do that hurts people within the company?
Cost them money, cost them suffering, like, you know, things that are said, working slower, so it puts pressure on a co-worker.
Yep.
Because they have to pick up the slack, all that sort of stuff.
That's it.
Yep.
Yep. So, just what are the right actions within your role as an employer and your role as an employee? Right, now 5 is right livelihood. Now this has got making a living in an ethical way. This refers to making the correct choice concerning ways of making and earning a living. So that's got a big, you know, it's got a big, you know, if you're a hippie and you work for a coal mining company, probably not a good choice.
You know, experience a degree of tension.
Yeah, and disparity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm working for the man.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it's, once again, it's making this honest observation of why you're in the place you're in.
And that was part of my ex-wife's suffering, I guess, or angst, was pretty much as an accountant, as a public accountant. You're just an agent for the tax department, collecting taxes from people and surrounded by miserable clients who hate paying tax and more tax, and
With belief systems that come along with tax.
with what paying taxes is all about. So, you know, I can understand that that's not very fulfilling for her.
Yeah. But, you know, if you're totally honest with yourself and found yourself in a business that wasn't meeting some of your ethical and moral judgments about the world, which don't exist anyway, have a listen to some of our earlier podcasts.
Yep.
Then don't be there.
And that's what she's chosen.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it's making that honest appraisal as well, because that would help the employer and it would help you. It's like, I really don't want to be here because it's not meeting how I see the world.
Again, goes back to owning that choice.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Right effort is the 6th one.
So is this the difference between patience and
you're gonna-
laziness,
you-
Jay?
You're gonna like this sentence, and some employers are not going to like this sentence either. Include the way of not trying too hard.
So, yeah, if your employees use that one against you, employers, it's not our fault.
No, but this is the fine work that is enabled by inner harmony and balance.
But do you know, with that one, so I'm a bit of a Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Workweek fan.
Yes.
And I've been on a crusade of late since reading the book The One Thing by Gary Keller, I think it is.
Yep.
And they're just two authors that pretty much espouse the same principle of you actually shouldn't have to work hard. If you're working hard, as in, you know, forcing and busting your gut, you're not doing it right.
No.
It should actually flow, and you need to have time for meditation and family and all that stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, it's balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the work-life balance.
which is bullshit, because there is no balance point. It's more about a pathway.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, there's a balance point for me when I'm not working.
you feel very balanced. But it's more about priority, and I like the way Gary Keller in the book The One Thing describes the concept of priority, and even the root of that word and how it's come to have a different connotation in modern language to what the actual meaning of the word priority means.
Okay, so let's have a quick look at this, because you've got Tim Ferriss, who's a big proponent of the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
You've got Gary
Keller.
who's a big proponent of the one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're both basically saying, cut all the crap out of your job and you'll have more balance.
Yep.
So, and there are a lot of examples. If you have a good look at the work you're doing, 80% of the work you're doing will be giving you 20% of your results.
Yeah, and we fill the other 80% with shit.
Yeah. So, and then there's that balances out that 20% of your results are from 80% of the crap you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have this outdated.
I think I just said that all wrong.
Yeah, you did, but I'm pretty sure people know what you meant.
Okay, 20% of your output should be giving you 80% of your results.
Yeah, 20% of your efforts.
Yeah.
Right?
So that means there's 80% of what you do every day that's not really doing anything.
No, which could be better applied. And it doesn't necessarily mean you sit on your ass and stare at the wall because, well, I'm not going to do the other stuff because it's worthless. But that goes across to that whole concept of priority, is you could choose then another priority and apply effort to that. Now, that could be, if we go back to those other principles, Jay, doing something else for the good of the company, which really is going to be for the good of the whole.
Yeah.
Sound like bloody communists or socialists. But you know, when you start cutting the fluff, it's amazing how much other more productive things,
you could
effective things that we could be doing with our time, rather than just mindlessly filling up 8 to 10 hours a day with work, in inverted commas. Because
perceived work.
Yeah, because there's a concept that being busy is being productive, and that's a load of horse shit.
Yeah, so an employer and an employee could sit down and have that right view or understanding, and the employer going to say, look, this business is here, it exists to make me lots of money, and we're not doing that at the moment.
Yep.
I'm sitting with you, the employee, that I would like to pay more money because the company earns more money. What could we cut out of the way? What's the fluff that we're doing? What is the one thing that could make us money? Or, from the Pareto principle, you know...
What's the 20%?
What's the 20% that gives us money?
Yep.
And throw everything else in the bin.
Yep. That'd be an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, it would.
Instead of you're a bastard and you're a lazy prick.
Yeah.
Mm.
And why don't you supply Ice Vovos anymore?
Because they don't make them. Because the guy at the Ice Vovo factory listened to this episode and said, that's it, I'm out of here.
He's gone to a cave in the mountain. All right, so number 7 is right mindfulness. Mindfulness is integral to meditation. We train our minds to remain in the moment, simply noting what arises. These include mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of thinking, and objects of thoughts. This refers to a tranquil, undisturbed mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right mindfulness when you're in the job.
Is that being present in your
But
tasks?
just being present about what you're doing.
If I'm servicing a customer car, I'd be present with that.
Yes.
If I'm
if you're a prostitute and you're servicing a client, just being present.
You're just doing this so that we justify our explicit rating, aren't you? I'm just going to stick with the work examples, but yeah, it's being present in the task and giving it the attention that it actually deserves or demands.
Right.
There you go.
But it's being mindful of what you're doing, isn't
Enough
it?
said.
This whole thing is being honest about where you are. And if you're honest about where you are, you should be mindful about what you're doing.
Hmm. Which, at a very simple level, creates attention to detail and accuracy and all those sort of things, because you're giving a task the right attention.
Yeah.
You don't leave the oil cap off a customer car and, you know, they drive out and sprays oil all over the bloody engine bay, for example.
Yeah.
When what you do for a living is service cars. So, you know, obviously the mind went somewhere else with that guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't paying attention to what he was doing.
Because he wasn't mindful. He was thinking about his wife.
He was thinking about the weekend or the fact that his boss is an arse.
Yeah, and he wasn't being paid enough money and he wanted an advance and this and that and the other. You know, it's like the thousand of things that could flow through that mind. Let's, like, someone, you know, someone in a, what do you call those things? The
space shuttle?
No, the chain lines, you know.
Oh, production line.
Production line.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where one person's dealing with one part all the time.
Yep.
But they've got no idea why they're doing that part. It's just like, you put this into there and then turn that over.
Yep.
Eventually, if they've got no idea why they're doing this, it's going to cause frustration, distraction, everything like that. But if, you know, the employers are saying, all right, well, I've created this company that's creating these little tags for mobile phones to make me money, and I can see the money in them, and I need you to do this, there's a greater depth of understanding for the employee, isn't there?
Yeah, because as humans, we have a need to know where we fit and what our contribution is.
Yep, I'm still figuring that one out.
You haven't found anywhere you fit.
Just ask my mum.
You just don't fit in, Jay. Maybe you should shave your head like me.
Yeah, that's probably not a good thing to do. All right, now the last one, right concentration. This practice develops single-pointedness of mind. This refers to being neither too tight, not too loose, too tense, not too relaxed, not too overworked or too underworked. It's all about balance again.
Which for me relates back to being present. It's that point. It's not too much of anything. It's just that point in that moment, which is perfect in itself.
Yes, but this is all based around being present. From the first noble truth to the last of the Eightfold Path, it's all about a deep understanding of who you are and where you are. Not just on some spiritual platform. I think this is the beauty about this thing. There's no religion. It's just looking at the deep honesty of who you are and where you are. You know, if you're a refugee that's fleeing because of religious persecution or this or that or the other, and you had a deep understanding of what was going on in that moment, you would probably have a lot less stress. There's probably people that would argue with me about that.
I'm pretty sure there is. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Jay.
No.
I'm just not publicly saying anything about it. I'm being vanilla. I swore I wouldn't be vanilla anymore.
Yeah, well...
It really is the fullest application of that principle, though, of being truly present.
Yeah.
That it's almost like there can be no suffering if I am truly present.
There you go, boom. You've just answered most people's questions.
So instead of chasing the opposite of suffering, the pursuit is actually living absolutely in the present moment.
Yeah.
Which is I have read a bit of Eckhart Tolle's stuff, but you know, broadly speaking, that's his teachings.
Yeah, they're all saying the same thing.
We're all one.
He loves doing that.
All right, so employers and employees can all have, a big hug and a high five and start working together.
As long as they're completely honest with each other.
Yeah, transparent.
Yeah. Total transparency about why everything exists.
Yeah.
If you're in a company that wants to make money, yet you promote it as, I'm saving the planet, you're a knob.
Because you're not declaring your actual...
You're not declaring the actual understanding of what you're doing. If you said, I want to make money by helping the planet, that's a totally different thing. But if you're putting on, like all of us do, another face to the real truth, that outward face, you're always going to experience.
It's like the old thing of telling a lie, isn't it? Because then you got to tell a whole bunch of others to cover it up. You got to remember.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
From a big picture, yes, Warren, that's very true.
But by lying about my true intentions,
yeah,
I've got to work really hard at creating this persona and this image and managing all of the interests, and instead of just saying, I just want to.
I know some very wealthy people in this life that are all just persona and image.
I wonder how happy they are.
Oh, they're probably very happy.
Bastards.
No, they're not
rich
bastards.
and happy.
But yeah, just
that's not possible, is it?
Finding that deep understanding of why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, hopefully that was a good episode. I will have heard it now when it goes live, but I'm assuming that
I'll just tell you, it was awesome.
Excellent, great.
I was there. I was there in body. or something. Anyway, yeah, look, the whole employer-employee thing, it does my head in. Just how angry they get at each other, you know, and I think the solution is really quite simple. And as Joe and I talked about in that episode there, you know, it's not that hard, but I think we complicate it as humans.
Yep. So don't solve this problem like me, like closing my business because I just couldn't deal with the staff anymore. Take Warwick's advice.
Yeah. And look, if you've got a story that you'd like to share with us, hit us on our Facebook page, Tradies Business Show. And look, if you want to get some more tips on running your business, not about employees, but some more tips to market your business more and get some more customers in, who can come and talk to your awesome employees, go to tradiesbusinessshow.com and you can grab our free little download there, 99 marketing tips. Just chuck in your name and email and we'll shoot it straight out to you, and then you can start implementing those in your business.
And there's lots of other helpful articles and stuff on there as well.
Yeah, I've been blogging.
You have been.
Fancy that.
Only took me a year to get you to blog.
So, yeah, you can check out the blog, and yeah, if you've got any stories you want to share, you can leave us a voicemail there as well at tradiesbusinessshow.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fabulous week, tradies.
Go Zen.
You've been listening to the Tradies Business Show with Warwick Bidwell and Michaela Clark. Want to get off the tools and into true business ownership? Find out how at tradiesbusinessshow.com.